Okay. Um, Seems to be lagging a lot. Let's see. Close some of these things. What does that have? Maybe. Okay. Right. Well. So, what's good? Um, yeah. Another month. Um, been it's like busy, but then at the same time, I've been like doing things that and like not related to business. So, as I think maybe I mentioned in the last one, my granddad passed away last month, around a month ago now, actually. And so I've been helping out at home with different bits there to kind of make sure that's kind of okay, really, and like ensure my family's all right, which I think is top priority at the minute. Um, that said, though, I've been really busy, been doing all sorts of different things, and mainly I've been trying to code. And so, yeah, I also did some business modeling and tried to map out how that's going to look. And then now, based on that, I'm trying to do the. This is going to take forever to load because like it's huge, but and my laptop's not having a good time. But yeah, so I was trying to basically did a lot of business modeling, and then I did like a value map, like an asset map. So it was like all of the different ways that I'd be able to potentially create money, or like all the different value that I'd be providing effectively. And then yeah, so um, that was quite good. And then using that, I then was able to sort of figure out what it was that um, I would be able to sort of actually like offer to people. So this is not loading, but yeah, it like discussed a lot of different things, and what we kind of have the main customer journey here, um, and then the sort of value chain that's related to that. And so it's just kind of starting like onboarding here, and then we've got like um, sort of seeing other people's journeys, and then we've got like planning your own journey. Um, and yeah, so we've got a lot of detail there, and then sort of mapping out the entity relationship, and then I think the yeah, this is a kind of around the different flows of the business. Like it's not nowhere near finished at all, but like it's got the initial customer journey there, and then which I developed in the other one, and then the initial process flow, and we've got some different screens and things there that we're looking at. It's all good. Um, and then yeah, tons of business models on this one. Um, Loads of different things. We've got like non-profit business models. We're working with non-profits. We've got the core customer journeys, and then customer journeys that potentially to share with businesses, essentially working with recruiters. So yeah, we've got the asset map as I'd mentioned there, which is like the interaction with the users, and then all the different things that can kind of come off that, and like that how that can be used. Um, and so we've got yeah some interesting routes, and we've kind of got this like phase system. I think that which I'm going to be trying to adopt. So yeah, like pre-order and crowdfunding, then consumer subscription, and then subscription, gift purchase, foundation sponsorship, and employee support. Effectively, this just needs like discount codes or like access codes to be created, which it shouldn't be too bad. That's why it's second because it needs more than that. And then the freemium upselling, which is like an education platform. Then we've got advertising, built-in advertising and affiliate links, which we'll have to develop like an ad platform for, which is tricky because we'll have to kind of keep it in line with the organization's um, info, like oh sorry, the organization's values. So that's going to be kind of tricky to do. Then we've got data provision, business consultancy, and spin out companies, and then we've got the yeah sort of the other ones, which is like recruitment education, and it's kind of providing basically support to like with the complementary and employee support. This is like a really interesting one. Potentially like with organizations using the journeys that are on there to actually teach other people, other users, potential users, how to actually use their organization. So it's effectively like an advertising thing, but it's not advertising in the sense of, or like, here's an advert, like, or like, buy my shoes or whatever. It would be like, or here's a journey somebody else went on with this organization. And this is the step by step process this person took So it's like almost journey first advertising. So it's a bit of a different advertising model, um, and that could be something really interesting, to be honest. So yeah, kind of looking into that because it's like it's not really. It's kind of interesting because it's almost like affiliate links, but then we don't actually choose as the company. We don't choose to put those journeys on. We just choose to actually um, enable users to share the journeys they're doing with those organizations. So that's quite like an interesting model because then it empowers the users, and it kind of takes away from our control, which is actually a positive thing. Like for me, the organization, all it should really be is a structure. It should be just infrastructure which facilitates the sharing of journeys, and then just like okay, so then what? From there, what like how do we make money? And then it's like okay, well, if people are sharing journeys around organizations, like let's say it's university, and it's like UCAS or something like that, it's like a complex process. And so there's like several stages to that, and maybe there's different organizations which are involved. But you can kind of like map out a full journey based on somebody's individual experience, which can then be shared with the next people in the journey, and then they may work with the same organizations. And so it becomes this really interesting kind of model where it's like an integrated advertising approach, rather than it being just like an individual like coming on and basically saying like, "Yo, dude, I want to pay you, and I want you to put my advert on your thing." It actually then becomes our users are selecting which things to promote by sharing their journeys around them. And then it's almost like a review system, like built into advertising. Just like review based advertising. So it's like integrated, um, which is really quite interesting. And it's a lot more ethical, I would say. Um, and it may be able to compete with other forms of advertising. Because with this, it has like the social proof actually built in, the reputation built in to the advertisement. It's like the only thing that gets advertised is something which somebody else has directly experienced and it's positive. There's like not even a potential to have an otherwise advert. Does that make sense? So it's like it's quite an interesting idea, really. Um, and yeah, so looking to sort of do that, um, or maybe looking at doing that, and then yeah, there's like other things as well, like working with medical services. I've been looking into the working with the NHS and figuring out like if that's a viable route to sort of go down, and if so, what needs to be in place, how do we need to move around that. So there's a lot there as well to sort of look into. And we've got kind of the initial entity relationship diagrams kind of going. Like it's really early to be honest, but um yeah, I don't think it's loaded. But basically like yeah, so I'm coding at the minute. I'm just choosing the tech stack. So I've got Django as the back end because that's what I'm kind of familiar with. And then I think Python's going to be really good for the machine learning and AI integration stuff. So we've got that. And then I'm going to be using Hotwire for the front end. So that's like um, so that's comprised of Turbo and Stimulus. Turbo's like oh well, it's just these things that I just clicked off. But basically, um, Turbo's kind of mad. It's like it's a couple of different things. Um, so firstly, like it makes the links really quick, and then the next one is it sort of composes things into sort of sections, and then so you can like reload each of those lazy loading things like that are really good. And then it turbo streams, so you can also deliver like HTML over the wire rather than which is like hot wire, so HOT wire, so HTML over the wire. Um, and so that's like that's sick because it means it's like so much faster. It's really clean, but then also like it makes Android and iOS development much better. And so like it integrates really nicely into apps. Um, and then Stimulus is like it's kind of writing controllers, like really quite simple things. And this is like um, yeah, super simple stuff. Once it all gets linked up, you can kind of reuse that and A lot of really cool stuff there. I think I might. I'm still exploring this at the minute. But I've been using Django Builder, which is really good, but I might be using um, Django Components as well, which is kind of like packaging. I'm not sure if Stimulus or Frames, like Turbo Frames, does this, but basically it like um, composes like reusable for like components together. So it's like JavaScript, CSS, and HTML all in one thing, and then you can like, so as you can see here, it like calls this. So it's got like that, and then this would have like some CSS that you specified to that. So it's like pretty clean, really reusable, and understandable, really. So that's super cool. Really excited to get this kind of working. I'm just starting to explore this. I've been looking at a lot of other things like the HTMX and Alpine JS stack as well, which is not so dissimilar to Turbo or some aspects of Turbo. But then it's like it's really interesting, like the potential that the Turbo infrastructure has in terms of scaling into iOS and Android. So yeah, really looking at that. And just trying to learn to code at the minute, basically. And yeah, it's been long, but getting somewhere with it and starting to get involved in the GitHub communities for the relevant packages and stuff. So we'll see how that kind of progresses. Um, and I'm taking the gas off applying to grants at the minute. Um, I'm not sure that I'm ready, to be honest. I think I might like. I'm aiming basically to develop a minimum viable product, like a really early one, by the end of the year, and then start, because at this point, like it's difficult to kind of show what this is, obviously, because it's not made, and so talking about it is only as good as it can be. Um, which is like it's not as effective. Whereas I want to have like a an illustration of what this thing would actually be, and then also as well, like I really I'm starting to see the need for actually just to build it, because like I think it's getting more and more pressing, for me personally, but like other people as well. Like definitely, I'm noticing a greater and greater need in my own life to actually to have something like this kind of system that can like you can manage your life with. Um, and it's like, yeah, I just want to get it built. So if I can build something really, really simple that works, that's like can actually move into app and actually um like with this sort of Turbo as the front end, Django as the back end, and then some really cool stuff related to that. Yeah, like real time communication and updates and things. So it can be really clean. And yeah, if I can do that, then when I'm going for grants and I actually got a website to show them, I can be like, this is actually what it's about. And then I think that's going to be a much more persuasive um, sort of means to actually working with organizations, as well as actually just being something that I can start to use myself and start to manage my own life better with, as well as like some friends and people that are really interested. So it's kind of getting those early users on. Um, and yeah, really interestingly, there was an organization called Holly Health, which I was in like an NHS discussion thing, where they're talking about like going into the NHS, and these guys are partnered with the NHS. So they're working for the NHS at the minute, and basically it's like a digital health and well-being coach supports personalized habit-forming behavior change for physical and mental health. And then so it's basically yeah, just like habit forming effectively. Um, and then yeah, so there's like they only focus on these three things mainly: lose weight, feel better mentally, and like maybe build your relationship better with food and optimize your health. Um, and then they've got like these kind of positive things like CBT, nudge, mindfulness, and stuff. And so this is positive stuff. It's really good, and it's interesting that this is a model which is sort of successful and working. They're like doing some stuff with the NHS, which is really cool. So um, yeah, that's nice. And I think there's potential to sort of like illustrating that this kind of thing isn't isn't sort of that far out there, like the habits thing. So it's kind of like yeah, for me, this is just like basically Atomic Habits, and then kind of building on that. Um, and then so yeah, like so it's kind of talking about yo-yo and stuff, which is really positive, and I think that this is really really good. And then they're having some really positive results as well. Um, and then they have like a really interesting thing where you basically talk to like an AI, which is really interesting. And I think there's a lot of potential for that in the long run. For me, it's not an urgency. It's not like I don't need to get that. Um, yeah, like I don't need to get that built straight away. Like I think that's like a means to communicate. That's like a delivery mechanism. It's not like the core functionality of the app. But I do think it will be interesting to have kind of. It's almost going to be like a not like a pet therapist, but it's going to be like a friend that you can sort of talk to, and you can respond to questions around like an app or not an app, an event, and kind of things like that in a timeline, and it'll formulate, um, yeah, some really interesting interactions, which can kind of be quite therapeutic potentially, and it'll actually record those things and map those onto a timeline, so you can then reflect on it in the later stages, which is like, dude, that's super cool. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of interesting things as well. Like we're talking about marketing strategy, um, and there's some really interesting ones where we can kind of like be sharing the journeys of people that are quite sort of interesting and potentially, um, yeah, like if we can capture like some really cool journeys, and then we can do advertising campaigns based on those individual journeys, based on people that are interested in them. And so it's like, yeah, it'll just be really inspiring and just really really positive. So yeah, that's about it for the time being. Just coding really is the main thing. And done like I think I've done enough sort of strategy stuff and planning stuff, and I'm at a point now where I'm just like ready to um yeah, like actually get into it. And if I can actually build something that can function, especially if I can use Turbo to actually yeah, like deliver that onto mobile as well, then we're in good shape, man. We're in really good shape. So basically, I'm hoping by the end of the year. So we've got like a month or so. Obviously, Christmas is about that too, but got a month or so to basically try and build something that is like an early prototype, and then like get it online as well. So it's like it's gonna be tricky. Like there's a lot to learn, and like there's a lot to do. Um, like so much to do, but like I think that Turbo's going to be really helpful once I've kind of got that nailed down, and then yeah, once I've started to kind of componentify, if that makes sense, like modularize the different sort of aspects of the front end. We've got some really some nice stuff going on the back end as well with Python, and then yeah, basically just get something that can function, where people can put events on, make a timeline, and they can view their journeys and then potentially others, based on the tagging search system. So it's not in advanced in terms of the search, and that's like much later that the AI and stuff's going to come in. But um, yeah, early days, just get something sorted and looking to get that by end of this year, and then we can start testing and getting down into it um, early next year. And then I think like early steps is just going to be basically getting it on with my friends, people that are interested, and be like, yo, could you help? But then also using it myself as well, and kind of ironing out some of those more tricky things. Um, One thing that is kind of interesting about Django is like the extensibility of it, and like if I can make an app um, in Django, then I might be able to like plug those in, so I can kind of build the base where I have like the user model, and then perhaps like events or something, and then I can kind of build on that with developments of different apps which have different models and etc. But then yeah, like see how that's gonna kind of all work. Um, and yeah, I think it's going to be quite an interesting month. I think it's going to be mainly just coding. I'm just getting ruthless with it. Like I'm not really doing networking events so much. I'm not really bothered. Like it's just, yeah, it's it's just a waste of time, to be honest. It's just distraction, and it's like um, I'm doing some little things, but it's like it's minimal. I'm gonna look for an office as well. See basically if I can get a month or two trial, maybe. Be ideal if I can get a month trial for December, and I can just like code basically solidly. And yeah, got a couple of things lined up with friends, but I'm gonna keep it minimal. Um, because I really do want to just like absolutely smash this out and just get something by the end of the year that's online and functioning and doesn't have to look super pretty, but if it can function, then I can go from there. And that's like an unbelievable starting point. Um, but yeah, I think that's just about it. Um, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next month.